Welcome. Today on Book Talk with Bookish Erika, I am interviewing author Abby Anne Korver. Abby Anne, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to do this with you.
Great. Can you tell me a little bit about your fantasy books?
Yes, so I am right in the middle of releasing a four-book fantasy series. The first book released back in February, the second book releases here in October, and I'm currently working on book three right now. It is an epic fantasy series with a romance subplot. It's filled with menders and mages, magical stones, mythical creatures, all sorts of adventure and chaos, like all the things that like are me.
I love that. That sounds amazing. And that's everything that I love as well. So I'm really excited. You are busy. You have two books releasing this year, and you're already working on the third one. So you are cruising right along.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does this at their own speed. And for me, when I get the itch to write, it just comes. And it really did help. When I was writing book one, I had basically nothing to do for a long span of time. So the only thing that I was doing was writing. So I was able to finish that book and release it pretty quickly. And yeah, I have just been plugging away and I'm riding this wave of excitement. So
I think that's the way to do it. It can get very overwhelming, just working on anything for a long amount of time, but especially something that's so creative and you put your heart and your soul into. I think it can be hard to keep that momentum going. So I'm really happy to hear that that has been the case for you. You have been able to keep that going so far.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I know that the writer's block is going to hit at some point, but yes, it can be creatively draining. I never force myself to write. Like if I'm not feeling it someday, I'm not like, oh, I need to sit down and push out 2,000 words. I'm like, okay, today's not a writing day. That's all right.
And that's great. That's great. You mentioned a little bit about how you started your writing journey, but can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I I've never been a writer. I've always been a creative. I do have a degree in fine arts. But my career was in teaching and was ended shortly because I was dealing with some health issues. And last year I needed a fairly complex surgery and had some complications and ended up bedbound for about 3 to 4 months or so.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And yeah, yeah, it was just like a lot of unexpected things happening kind of all at once. And it was only a couple weeks after surgery, and I had been, just like literally laying in a bed staring at the ceiling for hours on end and was feeling honestly very depressed about the whole situation. Um, and so I was on the phone with my older brother one day, and I think he could tell that I was not in a very good place. And so he was just throwing around some ideas with me, and he was like, hey, maybe you could try writing about your experiences or just writing in general, and that might be really therapeutic for you. He's a writer as well, which is kind of where he got this idea from.
Makes
And
sense.
yeah, yeah. And, he wasn't intending to like encourage me to necessarily like write a novel, but that's kind of what came out.
Yeah.
And I started sharing it with him, and he was like, this is good. You need to publish this. Like, you're not just going to write this and not do anything with it now. Um, yeah, so he really kind of held my hand from there. And suddenly for me, I felt like I had a purpose. I wasn't just, sitting there laying in bed being depressed about my life anymore. It was like I had something to fuel me. And yeah, it was the greatest blessing in disguise that one could think of.
That is amazing. I do not think that I would handle being in that situation as well as you did. I think it's really amazing that you had someone who cared about you enough, your brother, to encourage you to do something to help your mental state at that point. And you took him up on it. That's what's even more amazing is you listened to him, you put your efforts into something else, and you're creative, like you said. And the fact that this has turned into a multi-book series just from that fact is really cool. And I think it's like the light at the end of the tunnel, kind of. You're already, it's a year or so, I think you said, since then. And so it's really cool that this has helped you in so many ways. That's an amazing story. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel just like I feel really lucky that I had the support systems too to like encourage me. And I'm actually having the very same operation done here in like 2 weeks.
Oh
And
no.
so I'm going into it kind of knowing what to expect this time, but this time around, I'm like, I already have this thing that I love and that I'm super passionate about. And so here we go, book three.
I think that's probably the best mindset you could have at this point is at least you kind of know what to expect this time and you do have something that you're really passionate about. And so hopefully you get a lot of work done, or at least you're focused on that rather than, anything else that's going on in your life at that point. So yeah, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Your writing journey is very interesting. It's a unique one for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I never thought I was ever going to be a published author, and it's kind of crazy. It's like my family has like a little bug going on. My brother released his first book, and then a couple of years later, here I am writing, and now my mom's writing as well.
So
So
cool. You're just a
yeah,
family of writers. I love that.
yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. So you did mention that your brother helped you sort of start with the writing. Does he help you in any other ways? Does he give you feedback? Is he a beta reader, anything like that?
Yes. Yeah, he is like the first person that gets my manuscript when I'm ready to have some feedback on it. He's got a really, really great eye for story, and obviously he's experienced with writing. And so, he's the best person to get feedback from. Also, because since we're siblings, I know that he's not going to sugarcoat anything, that I am going to get the harshest critique, which is what makes the books better. So it works out.
Yes. For sure. That is nice because it's very difficult to find like beta or ARC readers that you trust and that like know what to look for. And so I think it's helpful that one, he is a writer, he's been through it, but two, he's probably not that worried about hurting your feelings. And this way he can give constructive feedback. And since it's your sibling, like my I write a little bit. My brother is much more creative than I am, and he's written several books. He's working on publishing them. But kind of the same thing where like I'm just not as offended. If he tells me a section kind of sucks, I'm like, okay, that's fine because you're not trying to hurt me. And I feel like it's just a little different because it's a sibling.
I love that. Yes. I recall one instance in particular in the second book here. He like highlighted a whole paragraph and he was like, "This is not good. Rewrite it." And like I can expect that from him. And yeah, it's all out of love. He wants me to make this the best that it can be. So it's a great
Yeah,
partnership that we have going.
I love that. That is really, really cool. So what's your favorite thing about writing?
Oh, wow. There's so many wonderful things about writing from, just the community, even like the bookish online community, my readers, the people who've been supporting me. But I think for me, it's ultimately very personal. And so I love getting lost in my stories, in my characters' heads. It's a, it's a really good escape, how a lot of us as readers, we read because it's an escape. I think for writers, it's the same too. Like we get to live in this imaginary world for a little while, and that in itself is just so amazing, and it's a great experience.
Definitely. And like you said, it is a release, it is an escape, but I do think it is a little different when you are the one creating it. And that's when it's just, there's so much potential, which can be a little overwhelming because you have to decide which way, your story goes. But it is a really cool experience. And I think I mean, you've written multiple books at this point, and I just think that's really cool. So I love to hear that you genuinely love the writing process.
I do. And I put so much of myself into my stories. And so, it continues to be a form of therapy for me, just writing about struggles and challenges and wins. Um, so yeah, it's a great creative form when you find it.
Definitely, definitely. What themes show up in your books?
I would say this series in general, the biggest overarching theme is grief and facing the past. I would say that all of my characters, especially in the first book, are experiencing grief in many different forms. We oftentimes think of grief as just losing somebody or death, but grief is losing anything, and that can look different for so many different people. Um, so I would say grief, and then also, yeah, being able to face the past or face challenges that you've had in the past and trying to overcome them.
Those are wonderful themes. And I think a lot of readers will be able to relate to those because everyone has experienced grief at some point in various different forms. And I think, like you were saying, reading is such a release. I think that that is something that draws readers, is they can, they're experiencing grief, so they might read a book and that character is dealing with grief, and it helps you as the reader to kind of process through that. And so I think I love books that kind of break my heart a little bit, and it is maybe more emotional because
Mm.
it does help me in my own life. And that's just one of the things that I love about reading.
Yeah. Yeah, these are definitely emotional reads because I really hone in and focus on that character development and how they deal with those different darker themes. And I think for me, I chose grief because in a way I was grieving the loss of my health and the my mobility, the things that I used to be able to do that I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do after the surgery. And so I was kind of grieving this life past, or maybe even grieving this life that I could have had that wasn't going to happen anymore. And so one of the characters in particular goes through something very similar to me. And that was very personal and very vulnerable. But I'm really glad that I chose to write about that because, yeah, like you said, everybody has experienced grief in some form.
Hmm. And I love when authors do use their own personal experiences to influence their writing because I feel like it just makes the story come alive that much more because you yourself were grieving, and so you can really make your characters feel that grief, and therefore the readers feel it. And so it probably, I mean, obviously, very unfortunate situation, but it probably really made that character development so much stronger in your writing. And so I think it was probably very therapeutic for you. And like I said before, probably a lot of readers will be able to relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. And, there's been multiple cases where I've gotten random messages on social media from people saying, like, hey, that helped me, or I really like that you wrote a character that was dealing with XYZ because I am too. And that's just the best validation, that it matters what you write about.
Definitely. It matters what you write about. I really like that. I think that's a great quote. So who is your favorite character to write? Is it the one that you mentioned a moment ago that experienced something similar?
I do enjoy writing him. Um, but personally, I have to say my favorite character to write is probably the villain.
I love that.
And I don't know what that says about me as a person, but um, for some reason, I think it's almost like acting in a way, like, I put this different hat on, and in the second book, we get to see some point of view from the villain, which is
I
just
love I love when you get to see the point of view from the villain. I don't know what it is, but I love it.
right. Like when you get to learn what really makes them them. And for some reason, I get so much joy out of like playing the villain in my head. So whenever those chapters come up, like those are the easiest ones for me to write. Don't know why. Take what you want from that.
I love that. And I think that's part of the fun of being a writer is you do get to experience different characters. It's kind of like I mentioned D&D a lot in these interviews because it's a very similar thing where you for once you get to play out what if I was the villain? What if I acted on these impulses or what if I did this crazy thing? And it's okay that you're doing that because it's your characters in your world that you created. So I think it's a very like healthy almost way to like experience different things.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, it's like I said, it's like acting, like I get to put on this different persona for a minute and just enjoy it.
I love that. um so the main female character in your book is older than the typical like 19-year-old that we see in fantasy books. So why did you choose to make her older?
Yes, that was very intentional on my part. Um, I'm in my mid 30s and I'm getting to the point where I'm having a harder time seeing myself in those younger heroines. I still love them. I still read them. I'm always going to read them, but I really wanted something that could resonate with someone on the older side, like there's so many women in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s who are reading these books, and I wanted them to be able to see themselves in this character. So she's 38. She's got some gray hairs and some wrinkles, and she's still beautiful and strong and powerful.
I absolutely love that. I'm also in my mid 30s and I feel the same way. I still love the books with the teenagers or very young adults, but it's really nice to see authors, and it's normally indie authors, who are willing to write an older main character. And I love it because that's the stage of life that I'm in. And so I think that I can just connect more with characters like that. So I was really excited when I saw that you had some older characters in your book.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Like, yes, that's exactly why I wrote her like that. And two others of my main characters, two other males, are also older as well. So they're more mature, they've had some life experience, and I think that shows up in their characterization.
Perfect. I'm really excited because like I said, I love that and I think more indie authors are willing to do that and I'm hoping that more and more authors kind of catch on to that because there is such a big reader pool and I think that more people want those older characters with more character development, more life experience and so I'm really excited. And I think your book will resonate with a lot of people because of
I sure hope so.
that. So the second book, The Mage's Stone, is releasing on, I believe, October 18th. Did you change your publishing plan at all from your first book to your second book?
The plan didn't necessarily change at all, but I did learn some things along the way, just about like how to market the book ahead of time, what I needed to do on social media, how to do a pre-order campaign, just those things that I really had no idea how to do when I was releasing book one. But I just know I'm going to keep learning things along the way. I am definitely not a pro at this. I'm still learning. So I know that the process is going to evolve over time, but we'll just see where it goes.
I love that. And one of the biggest things that I hear from authors is start marketing your book as early as you can. Because I think a lot of people, especially new authors, you wait until you finish the book and then you say, "Hey, I'm releasing a book." And a lot of people have said, like, market as early as you can. So do you remember, like, about how long have you been marketing the second one? Has it been a couple months? How long?
Yeah, I would say I really started marketing The Mage's Stone back in April, May, I want to say. Then I came out with like, here's the title, this is a tentative release date, and then, just started revealing things along the way. But
Mhm.
I would 100% agree with that. Like, you could start marketing a book a year out and it's not too early.
I think that is really good advice for either like brand new authors or authors who have published maybe a couple books. I think that that is really good advice. A year out is, I don't think that would be crazy either. And I follow several people online where it's the same thing. They're publishing their book towards the end of 2026, and I'm excited and I follow them. And so I love when authors like tell me what's next because I'm ready for it. I'm excited. I'm ready to get excited for their books. So that is really good
Yeah,
advice.
yeah, definitely market as soon as possible. And I mean, for me, it was really just I wanted to release these books as quickly as possible just because I've got a great ARC team and I don't want to make them wait a year for the next book to come out. So just trying to release it as soon as possible while giving myself some buffer time to do all that marketing in between.
Yeah. It sounds like it's working, so I'm excited for you. Do you
Yeah,
have anything planned to celebrate the release of the Mage's Stone?
I do.
Yay!
Um, so when I released the Mender's Curse, I had a big launch party, and we're kind of redoing the launch party again, but in just like maybe a different format. I live in a state where I don't have any family nearby, so my friends are my found family,
Hmm.
and so they're all coming over, and we're eating a bunch of food that is themed in the book.
How
So
cool.
yeah, so like we had like cheese puffs that were fireballs last time, and then like I took like pretzels and I turned them into little daggers, and it was a lot of fun. We made potion
That's
and
so cute.
everything.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a bunch of people over and just celebrate it. Maybe we'll have like a little book trivia or something, and then I always do like a little giveaway for my friends too.
That is really cool. I always love to ask authors if they have anything planned, and so many people say that they don't. And I get it. It's by the time you've released the book, you're exhausted and kind of overwhelmed. But it's such a like an amazing thing. And so everyone should do something. And your idea sounds so cute. I'm so excited for it. I bet it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be a total blast. And, it's just really great timing. I'm releasing my book 2 days before I go have this big surgery again. So I get to like have everybody together and see all my friends. And yeah, we get to celebrate this accomplishment because it's an accomplishment.
It is a huge accomplishment. And I am glad that you're getting everybody together right before something very probably overwhelming, I'll say. And it's probably nice that you'll be able to just relax with friends, have a good time, just right beforehand. So I'm really excited for you. I think that'll be great.
Thank you.
So moving more towards reader things, you are a big fan of fan fiction. So why do you love fan fiction so much?
I don't often tell people I read fan fiction because fan fiction gets like a really bad reputation. I don't know why. Um, but I love it because I'm usually reading stories about characters that I already know and love. And oftentimes, the author of the fan fiction gets to dive deeper into their stories. And, they obviously make it their own, but I feel like the scene is already set in fan fiction, and now we just get to go deeper into the themes and the characters and the character arcs. And I don't know, I find something really like comforting reading about a character that I already know, Some people like to reread books. I like to read fan fiction.
I like that. And I think it's when you finish a book or a series that you loved and it's over, I often get quite sad about that. But the nice thing with fan fiction is you can return to that world. And, it might involve the main characters, it might involve a side character that you really loved, but
Mhm.
it didn't, the main series didn't focus on that. And so I feel like it is that comforting sense of being back in that world. But I love it, especially when there maybe aren't more books coming out in that world. You can still return to it and explore new things. And so I think that's like a fun part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got plans, maybe when I'm done with this series, I would love to write some fan fiction for a while just because it's a world that I enjoy.
That would be really cool. I have never written any fan fiction, but I do like think of stories. And so I was like, you know what? It might be a good just writing exercise. And especially if maybe I'm not feeling creative on my own story, just to practice writing and character development and just exploring different themes, it probably would be a really good exercise just to work on fan fiction for a little bit, just to improve my skills.
You should do it. Do it. Absolutely.
If I do, I will let you know. Just because you like fan fiction.
I'll read it. I'm on board.
Perfect. So as an indie author, what are the best ways that readers can support you?
I would say that the best way is to follow me on socials. And if you like what you see, if you think that my books are something that maybe you would enjoy, like join in on the fun, share, whatever you want to do, reach out to me. I'm always open to DMs. I love to hear from readers. And yeah, if you have Kindle Unlimited, pop on there and thumb through the first couple pages, see if you enjoy it.
Perfect. And I would add to that that even if your book maybe if it's not their target audience, then they can recommend it to friends and family or other readers that they think would enjoy it. Just
Absolutely.
to help spread the word about it because I love getting book recommendations from people, and especially if someone thought they see something and they think, oh, Erica might like this. I'm always like really touched by that. So please recommend her books, even if for anyone listening, please recommend her books because that's how indie authors they need to get the word out. Um, and I like to see that you're also open to reader DMs because I think there's often a lot of hesitancy to message authors. I'm still hesitant to message authors, even though I interview them and I discuss with them, but I still just get like a little scared. Even if I love the book, I'm like, oh, I don't know if they want to hear from me. So I'm glad to hear that you're open to that.
Oh, I mean, I'm not going to speak for other authors, but in my experience, like just hearing from a reader, any sort of reaction, I'm all on board for that. Like, yeah, let's chat about it. Or, if they have thoughts about a certain chapter, I've had readers wake me up in the middle of the night and be like, oh my gosh, Abby, and I'm like, I love it.
Oh, I do love that. I think that's wonderful. I need to be better. I've said it on another episode before, but I need to be better about reaching out to authors for those moments. I'll often do like post or maybe like comment on like, one of their posts, like, oh, I love this so much. But I think it would be fun to just kind of like fangirl over it, like directly to the author. I think I should work on that.
Yeah, and for readers that, if you don't know if the author is comfortable with that or not, like you can just ask, like, "Hey, I would really like to let you know XYZ about your book, or I'd like to chat about your book." And that gives them an opportunity to say no, whether or not they aren't comfortable with that. But for me
Yes,
personally, like, just come on
please
by.
do. I love that. I love to hear that. So you mentioned that your book is available in Kindle Unlimited. Is it available in paperback and hardback as well?
I have a paperback. I do not have hardcovers for my books, but of course I have ebooks as well. And yes, the Mender's Curse is available on Kindle Unlimited right now, and Amazon for paperback. And then The Mage's Stone will release here on October 18th.
Perfect. I'm glad there's options for readers. I always love that because people like different formats.
Yes, I would really love to do an audiobook in the future. I have some ideas for that, but it's probably going to be a little while before we get to that.
Audiobooks are a lot of work, and I don't think that the average reader understands just how much goes into an audiobook. I mean, money-wise, but also you have to find the right narrators that have the right
Hmm.
voice and tone for your book. And it's a lot of production. That takes a long time. So I would love to see an audiobook in the future, but I understand it'll take time to get it done right.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm still learning about the process of making an audiobook and yeah, like what exactly all goes into it. But it is something that I would like to do in the future. Just maybe not today.
Not today, but one day we would love to see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I have like some like fan casted ideas of who would narrate for me. So like, if the stars all align, maybe it'll happen.
That would be amazing. I love audiobooks. I listen to them every day. And I'm not even close to publishing a book, but I still have like my like fan like ultimate dream of like I would love for you to narrate my book one day.
Yes, yes, I love that.
Oh man, it's fun to dream.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun discussing your books. For anyone listening, please go and check out Abby Anne Korver's books. The first one's out, and the second one will be out on the 18th. So start reading now, and then you can just jump right into the second book.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. This was great.